They said it was impossible, that no man, no matter how skilled, could generate that kind of power from a distance so small. That's science, our trusted lens into the natural world, had its limits, and Bruce Lee, somehow, shattered them with a single flick of his hand. You've seen it, the famous one-inch punch. A punch so fast, so compact, it looks like magic. Bruce Lee would line up his target. No wind-up, no step, barely a breath, and boom. A full-grown man launched off his feet like a rag doll. Not just stunned, not just shaken, blown away. To understand just how crazy this is, you need to forget Hollywood for a minute. Forget the flying kicks, the slow-mo sequences, the cinematic flair. The one-inch punch wasn't special effects. It wasn't wires or camera tricks. It was physics-breaking, spine-snapping, real-world martial arts at its peak. And here's the wild part. Scientists couldn't explain it. Oh, they tried. They measured it. They brought in sensors, force meters, high-speed cameras. And what they found blew their minds. Bruce Lee's one-inch punch generated nearly the same force as a full power punch with a wind-up from a professional heavyweight boxer. Except Bruce didn't wind up, didn't step forward, didn't even rotate his hips the way boxers are trained to. He just snapped his arm out, and bodies flew. This wasn't just a punch. It was a revelation, a challenge to everything we thought we knew about human power, speed, and biomechanics. Traditional science said you needed space, leverage, momentum. Bruce said, nah, I've got something better, explosive intent and perfect technique. But let's rewind for a second, because Bruce Lee didn't just wake up one day and invent the one-inch punch. This was years in the making. It came from a deep, obsessive study of movement. From Wing Chun's centerline theory, from physics books he studied in college, from practicing one motion over and over and over until it wasn't just muscle memory. It was muscle prophecy. He didn't move. He predicted. He didn't punch. He executed. And here's where it gets eerie. Scientists at Stanford once looked at the one-inch punch through a scientific lens. Their equipment measured the acceleration, velocity, and timing of the move. They found that Bruce used a complex chain of muscle coordination that fired in perfect sequence. Legs, hips, core, shoulder, arm, hand. Each muscle group activated in under 0.1 seconds. That's faster than you blink. That's faster than your brain consciously reacts. They called it neuromuscular efficiency. Bruce Lee called it practice. It gets better. The force he generated wasn't just about muscle. It was about intent. Bruce had this incredible ability to generate what experts now call FA gene, the explosive release of internal energy. Yeah, that sounds a little mystical, but when you break it down, it's all about channeling your whole body's energy into a single, sharp movement. And Bruce, he was a master. Here's the kicker. The guy he hit in that famous demo, he wasn't faking it. The man flew back because Bruce's punch transferred momentum at a level usually seen in car crashes. I'm not exaggerating. The measured force from Bruce's one-inch punch was up to 350 pounds of impact. That's like getting hit by a professional linebacker at full sprint. From 1 inch away. How is that even possible? Simple. Bruce Lee didn't care about the rules of power. He rewrote them. He understood leverage in a way that physicists dream about. He studied mechanics, force vectors, and kinetic chains, not in a classroom, but in a dojo, in sweat and broken boards and cracked ribs. He turned every movement into a science experiment, and he was always the test subject. And unlike most fighters, Bruce Lee didn't believe in wasted motion. Every breath, every twitch, every heartbeat had a purpose. He didn't punch just with his arm. He punched with the floor, through his legs, through his hips, like a whip cracking in reverse. He used his opponent's body against them, knew exactly where to hit, how to hit, when to hit. People thought he was just fast, but he wasn't just fast. He was precise, ruthless. He was a human weapon that moved like thought itself. Bruce once said, "I fear not the man who has practiced 10,000 kicks once, but the man who has practiced one kick 10,000 times." That's how he trained. That's how he mastered the one-inch punch. Through brutal repetition. Through focus so intense it made normal people uncomfortable. through knowing that every punch could be the difference between victory and death. You see, Bruce's whole philosophy was about stripping away the unnecessary, the fluff, the show. He believed in what worked, what landed, what knocked your opponent flat before they even knew they were in a fight. The one-inch punch was the physical embodiment of that belief. And the irony? He didn't even believe in styles. Jeet Kune Do, his own system, was about no system. Be like water, he said. Adapt. Flow. Crash. That's exactly what the one-inch punch is. It's water turned into a hammer. The martial arts world wasn't ready. The scientific community definitely wasn't ready. And the audience? They'd never seen anything like it. The first time Bruce showed it publicly, people laughed. They thought it was a gimmick, a parlor trick, until they saw grown men staggering backward, clutching their chest, gasping like they'd been hit by a truck. Some people in the crowd were convinced it was fake until they tried it themselves and realized it was like trying to punch someone through a wall while standing on a tightrope. It wasn't fake. It was just Bruce. And let's not forget, Bruce Lee wasn't a big guy. He wasn't a heavyweight. He was lean, compact, about 140 pounds soaking wet. That's what made it even scarier. This wasn't brute force. This was raw, terrifying efficiency. He showed the world that power didn't come from size. It came from mastery, control, from knowing your body so well that you could make it do things most people didn't think were possible. Bruce turned the human body into a scalpel, sharp, fast, and deadly. What science eventually realized, years later, was that Bruce Lee was decades ahead of his time. His one-inch punch wasn't a mystery. It was biomechanics, physics, and neural control at its highest level. He basically hacked his own nervous system to generate explosive force in an unbelievably small space. He trained his muscles to react before thought. He conditioned his tendons to snap like coiled steel. And he aligned his body like a perfectly tuned machine where every part, no matter how small, served the final strike. He took ancient martial arts wisdom and fused it with modern science. He studied anatomy, kinetics, strength ratios. He knew that a punch wasn't just about hitting. It was about delivering energy efficiently. And nobody on earth did it better. Even now, decades after his death, athletes and scientists are still trying to replicate what he did. They build machines. They use AI. They measure force production and reaction time. But Bruce? He did it with willpower and repetition, over and over, until that one-inch punch became less of a move and more of a statement. He didn't just challenge science. He challenged reality. He made us ask, what else is possible? How far can the human body go? How much power can we really generate if we stop thinking in limits? Because Bruce Lee wasn't bound by rules. He was the rule breaker, the frontier, the dragon. And here's what most people miss. The one-inch punch wasn't just about martial arts. It was about life. It was about showing that the smallest motion done with total focus can have the biggest impact. That greatness doesn't always come from grand gestures, but from refined, relentless precision. Bruce's punch destroyed science, not by ignoring it, but by embodying it so fully that science had to catch up. He didn't break the laws of physics. He mastered them, with his body, with his mind, with every ounce of who he was. That's why Bruce Lee is still talked about today. Not because he kicked hard, not because he looked cool on screen, but because he showed us a glimpse of what a human being can do when they remove the unnecessary, when they obsess over the details, and when they punch with everything they are, even if it's just from 1 inch away. So the next time someone tells you something's impossible, remember this. Bruce Lee didn't just punch through science. He obliterated it.